Right then, guys, welcome back to another video. It's going to be a long one, very long one. Looking forward to this. It's been a long journey in the making, so got my coffee, sat down, ready to go. Before we start, guys, if you want to join the school community, there will be a call tonight. This video should be out in time. There'll be a call tonight at 8 p.m. GMT. And what I think I might do, it's always a presentation on a Monday. We do calls on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and an optional one on Sunday. But what I think I might do tonight is an exact guide based on this video, which will be my fitness plan, the actual exercises that I do, my diet plan, everything else combined, and actually show you exactly what I eat, how I train, what I train, how many days a week I do sprints, stuff like that, sauna, etc. Like actually break it down and show you a 1 week example, and then it will be followed up by a Q&A. So if you want to sign up, the link is below. It's $49 a month, £38. I mean, it's an absolute steal, guys. And then the supplements are coming out very soon, less than 2 weeks, and the clothing's coming out in probably 2 weeks, around about that time. And if you're in the school community, you're going to get a heavy discount. So well worth it. Right, so now into the video, guys. Now, like I said, this is going to be a long one, and it's a strange video to make because it seems a little bit big-headed. I'll be honest with you, it does. And I was reluctant to title it certain thing, but this is YouTube and people, you know, like certain buzzwords like mewing and stuff like that. So, you know, I've said to you guys in many videos, like, why can't you become that guy? Like, why can't you be that guy? And I've said it so many times, and I think the important thing to do for a lot of you guys with any content creator that you follow, anybody that you enjoy watching, is to monitor their progress. So if somebody's talking about becoming a high level guy, you know, they work hard, they're in the gym every single day, but you never really see them get in better shape. You never really see progression. They talk about making money, but their life never really gets any better. You know, you look at it, I think that's a suspicious sign. I think you're almost like, hang on a minute, this guy talks a good game, but nothing ever happens. This guy's talking about the male advantage, but nothing ever happens. So in the last few years, my life has stepped up many gears. And I want to show you all just different pictures along the journey. I want to show you guys how I got to where I got, the changes that I made, and just go through pretty much like a 12-year journey, or at least, to be honest, more like a 20-year journey. Just go through my life, just tell you fitness, aesthetics, how I got bulky, then lean, then I lost it, and then COVID hit, and you know, all the little steps along the way, like fashion, like figuring out what to wear, skincare, my journey to get like SMP, my head tattoo and stuff like that, like why I went and got that, and all sorts. Just so the title of the video is Step-by-Step Guide to Becoming That Guy. Like I said, we've got the coffee. It's going to be like an old school first man video. We're going to take our time on this one. So first and foremost, my background. My dad was about 6'3". He's obviously not with us today. He died around about 3 years ago. But he was about 6'3", very athletic guy, very strong, naturally strong. And so I started off with pretty good genetics. But, you know, was I making the most of them early on? Yeah, I guess in a sporting sense, but my background was very much just football, and that's soccer for you Americans. I played at a very high level. I even made it onto as a championship manager 2001, I think it is. Some people might be able to find it. I played for Forest Green Rovers. Just have a little search around. I'd love somebody to find it. I'm not big on those manager games, so I've never got around to having a look, but my friend said I was on there, which is pretty cool. And I used to do sprints. So I got to quite a high level, like national level, like sub-national level, where they split the country in half and it's like south-north trials, stuff like that. I got to that stage. So you're talking like one of the quickest kids for your age in the country. So genetically, you know, pretty good, but it was always a sporting background. It was always, you know, athletic and stuff like that. And yeah, I was quite a popular kid. Yeah, you get a bit of attention and stuff like that. And, you know, at school, it was like, you were always one of the best at sports and you were getting some attention from women and stuff like that. But I was never like the Chad, the jock, like the top percentage guy. I was quite short when I was younger, but I was in shape. I would train a lot. Would I eat whatever I wanted? Yeah, I would eat chocolate bars and stuff like that. Like I wasn't really dedicated to fitness. I had no specific plan. I would eat whatever I wanted. I would just train a lot. I'd run around a lot. And I just use what I had, really. I was more focused on becoming a professional footballer. Sprinting, I just did because I was good at it. I didn't really care. I did a little bit of cross country, which is long distance running. But it was, nothing to write home about. I was good at it, but I was never elite level at cross country. I was just good at cardio because I did it a lot. So nothing crazy. My dad had a gym at home, and he had a punch bag down there and some very basic weights that he would use all the time. And it's quite a big guy, very extremely strong, naturally strong. And he just introduced me to it from about 4 or 5 years old. Just started getting me lifting weights, just introduced me to boxing, along with sprints and football and stuff like that. I think it gave me a really good foundation for my body. When you're a kid, you climb trees. I remember people always, I don't know why I remember this, but people always found it fascinating that I could hang from trees by one arm. I could climb quick, stuff like that. So like you knew you had something. Do you know what I mean? But I was training with my dad, lifting weights. He was getting me to do curls. He was getting me to do just like the bar on bench press and stuff like that. Like he'd put like 5 kg on each side and see if I could do it and whatnot. I was probably like 8, 9 years old by then. I remember doing overhead presses, probably terrible technique and stuff, but he had the weights down there. I would always do hammer curls and stuff, and he had one leg machine where I would do quads. I think you could do hamstrings on it as well, and he always encouraged me to do it because he said it was good for fitness. He had an exercise bike, and he'd always make me go on the exercise bike. And I think that probably built up my legs, made me strong. I would cycle my bike everywhere. So what I'm trying to get at is I built up a really good like base level strength, and it helps your body. You build up a decent level of like base level muscle and whatnot. In terms of like aesthetics and stuff like that, I wasn't interested in clothing. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was one of the first guys to start wearing like polo shirts, like out at a young age and stuff like that. And that caught on in my area, and that was probably as far as I ever took it. But it was, I remember it was like, I remember it was trainers, jeans, and like a polo shirt or something like that, where everybody was trying to dress so that they could play sports. So it'd be like nice polo shirt, jeans, but I've got what we call AstroTurf trainers on. We used to call them Astros. So you would be able to kick a ball whenever you wanted. You'd be able to walk around town, meet people, have fun. But if somebody had a football, at any given moment, you could just go and kick the ball around. You could just go and play. So that's how we dressed, so that we could play football whenever we wanted, because that was the most important factor. Um, and I remember I was meeting up, I think we were probably like 14. And I would meet up with, guys from different schools, different areas and stuff like that. Like it got to a level where friendship groups started to overlap. And I remember there was one guy that I specifically met up with, and he was wearing like actual clothes, like clothes that an adult would wear. And I was in like shorts, trainers, and a t-shirt. And I remember he was getting a ton of female attention. He just felt older than us. He just felt more established. And I remember thinking to myself at the end of that day, it's the last time I ever dressed like this. I was like, I feel like a child, and this guy's dressed really well. I just feel so fucking stupid. I was like, look at the levels. This has gone up, and nobody announced it to me. And he just looked like he had jeans on, and we had like tracksuit bottoms. We would do this thing because at my school we would play rugby, and we would tuck our trousers into our socks. It was like a big trend that was happening back then. So we were all doing that, and we were dressed very much just like sports people, PE coaches, basically. And he was dressed like an actual man. Like today, I'm sure that fashion was shit, but he was dressed like a grown man in his 20s. And we were like 14, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm not, like, this is it. I'm changing the way I dress. Like, this has really annoyed me. So that was maybe the first time I really started entertaining it. And then I got into, like, this is my first memory of really starting to care about things. It's like, you go on a night out, you really start, like, focusing on, like, what you look like, and yeah, the alcohol was ruining it because you're gaining like 1% body fat every single year. You're having like a kebab, you're eating shit food and whatnot. You're still not on your diet and whatever. But you start thinking, hey, if I'm going out on a night out, I'm going out to get drunk and whatnot and meet girls and go clubbing. I was doing it at like 14, but I got serious about it at like 18, where you go out every weekend with all your friends. Because I had a full grown beard at 14, I was able to go out. But by 18, all of my friends had ID, so they could come out too. And I just remember like really thinking to myself, I need to start hitting the gym. But I was in the gym and I had no idea what I was doing. I was lifting the same weights every single week. I knew what I could do, and I would stick to my routine. And I had that old adage that everybody has, and I've heard it from so many young people: I don't want to get too big. I don't want to get too muscular. And in hindsight, you realize that you can't. Like if you want to get as big as like C-Bum or something like that, or you want to get as big as Mike Thurston, like it's rude to think that's going to happen from just like, oh, I'm going to lift a few weights and I'm going to get really big. And I had that mindset back then of like, I'll go to the gym and I'll run on the treadmill for 40 minutes and then I'll do a little bit of weights because I don't want to get too big. And that made me fall into a category of calisthenics. Calisthenics was something that I thought was amazing because I was like, I don't want to be too big. I want to be lean, but I also want to work on my muscles. So I became a calisthenics coach. I became obsessed with it. I was training calisthenics night and day. I absolutely loved it. I would go up the park. I would go, I'd even do pull-ups in like on swing sets and stuff. And it was cheap. I didn't have any money. It was cheap. I was able to do it without a gym, but I would go to the gym because I found a cheap gym and I would just do calisthenics non-stop. And I was one of those proponents where it's like, this is so much better than weights because, and I went into massive detail about it. At the same time, I was laboring. And if you guys don't know what it is, like manual labor, where you're like shoveling, wheelbarrowing, bricklaying, anything like that, anything heavy, like massive fucking timbers on the shoulder, scaffolding, whatever it might be, just doing that every single day. It just built up like crazy strength. Like you guys can probably see there. You see that muscle? All right, and people, look at that. I don't know anybody else who's got it. And people will take the piss and say it's a wanking muscle. Well, I've got it on both hands. So, no, it's not. Look at that. But it's weird, right? It's really, really weird. I've never met anybody else who actually has it like there. Like, it's fucking gigantic. And I could only figure out that it's from, like, look at the palms. Like, they're just weird. It's a weird shape. I don't know why they're like that. Like it's really thick here. The only thing I could think is it's from like bricklaying. Like if you think there, like I'm grabbing stuff all the time. When I was young, I was doing shit like that all the time. Like I've got really big forearms and people always compliment on them. And I think again, it's from like shoveling, wheelbarrowing, like picking stuff up from a young age. I think it just crafted something. So it gave me a little bit of an advantage, but it made me really lean. It made me strong and big and whatever and like vascular, but I was really lean. And what I think it gave me is a base strength. And this is what a lot of guys miss out on is like by having a sporting background, by doing calisthenics and by doing manual labor, it gives you this base strength. It gives you this like foundation to build on that in the future is going to pay off. When you do start lifting heavy weights, it's going to pay off. It kept me lean. It kept me looking half decent. I was 18 years old, 19 years old, full head of hair. And I remember my best friend died at 18 and I was spotty. And I took like 4 months off school. I took 4 months off college, sorry. And I remember I slept like 12 hours a day. I was tired. Like I was like, I just need time off. Like I was just like my best mates just died. I just felt like my head's everywhere. And I just took 4 months off. And I was just like sleeping every single day for like 12 hours a day. And I would sleep twice a day and I just felt rough. And I would just go to the gym and stuff like that. And it was weird. And my spots just cleared up. It was like all of my skin just cleared up. And for the first time ever, I looked good. But the problem is you're going on a night out. You're going and enjoying yourself. And I know this now and I teach you guys about this, but it's almost like one of the biggest dilemmas in male life. And this is why I love it so much, because if you figure this out young, you figure out everything, which is, I love this concept, right? This deserves a whole video, and I'd love to explain this in like a podcast to somebody so they could ask me questions, but I'll explain it to you guys now. You become handsome for the first time. You start getting some female attention, you hit the gym, you get a bit of base strength, you start dressing a little bit better, and you think to yourself, okay, I'm going to start going out clubbing. I'm going to start going out and enjoying myself. This was around the time I did it. Manual labor, a little bit of cash in hand. You're getting paid cash. Probably shouldn't admit that, but I was young. But you're getting paid cash like most kids are and stuff like that, right? You go out to town. There's beautiful women everywhere. All you want to do is chase them. All you want to do is have fun and stuff like that, right? It took me years to realize that, if a girl says to me, I'll come out on a night out, come out with my friends, enjoy yourself, whatnot, and you're looking good. You have a few beers, you might end up sleeping with that girl. Oh my God, that was amazing. This was the best experience ever. Why don't people do this every weekend? So you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. And about 2 years down the line of going out every single weekend, getting drunk, enjoying yourself, whatever, as a man, you've put fat on here. You've put fat on under here. You've lost a little bit of muscle. You're not sleeping like you used to. You're losing your money. You're not saving your money. So now you've gone, 18 years old, everyone fucking around, to like 20, 21 years old. People are starting to get good jobs, come out of university. you've got no money, you're just enjoying the hell out of life. And you've gained, like I said, 1 or 2% body fat every year. It just creeps up on you. It's that small little effect that you don't see happening. So you get to, let's say you were like 12% body fat and you look fantastic as a young man and you've gained 4% body fat, let's say over a 2 year period where you've just been going out, getting drunk, pizzas after getting drunk, whatever, not really thinking about things. And you're just carrying a little bit extra here. You're carrying a little bit extra water. Your abs have just started to disappear for the first time. You're skipping gym sessions. You used to go there 7 days a week. You're now going 3 when you can squeeze it in. You're just tired. It takes you 3 days to recover from the alcohol and stuff like that. What about the woman? What about the woman that invited you out? What about the women that you're going out with every single weekend? Well, they look great. They look great. Do you know where those extra calories have gone? Arse, boobs, hips, thighs, all the nice places. Where's yours gone? Face, belly. Men don't store it in the best of areas. And that happened to me. And it started creeping up on me. It was step by step. It started creeping up. And I'll never forget, and I've told you guys this before, I went to this pre-drinks at a house party. And they said to me at the time, because I did, it's hard to believe now, but I looked like Gary from Geordie Shore. Gaz. And I had like the quiffy hair and stuff like that. The same ears and whatnot, so it all tied in. And somebody said that to me, you look like Gary from Geordie Shore, and I said, yeah, and I've got his abs too. And they went, show me, and I stood up, and everyone went, I pulled up my top, and everyone went, no, you don't. And we all laughed about it and whatnot. But I sat there and I thought, I do. Like I've always had abs. Like I was the guy at school with abs. I was like well known as like, how'd you get those abs? And I was like, I don't know, I just train a lot, I just run around. I was always lean, and I was just like, when did that happen? And it's the creep effects. It crept up on me by 1 or 2%. But all the women that were going out and getting drunk, they looked fantastic. You know, they were a little bit thicker, a little bit more mature. They were starting to look like women. None of the fat had gone to their face, and they just looked brilliant. And that's when I realized the guys that they were interested in and going home with were the guys that weren't going out. Like those guys might have gone out once or whatever, made a good impression, then they just don't go out. Like they'll get to bed early on a Saturday, maybe they're 4 or 5 years older, they're 26 years old or something like that. And they would go to bed 11, midnight, worst case scenario, get 8 hours of sleep, wake up on a Sunday, go to the gym, they were fresh. They'd work, you know, on skincare, something like that. They'd work on their fashion. They had a good job, good, like a car on finance, something like that. And they were just so much more advanced and so much more ahead of me. I didn't see all that shit coming. I don't think anybody does, so I can't blame myself, but I didn't see it all coming. Until one day it hit me. I was out in a place called Cheltenham, a club, I think it was called Kukui back in the day. And some people are laughing now watching this. And there was this blonde girl with the best body I'd ever seen at the time. And I was just chasing her for weeks and weeks and weeks. And she was flirting back and whatnot, but she was keeping it at bay. And I remember we were in the club one day and I was like, I think I can pull this off tonight. She's showing me some good attention. I'm going to take her home and whatever. And this guy just turns up. I must have been like 20 years old. And this guy turns up. And I think I was unemployed at the time. I just like quit manual labor. I was trying to figure out my next move and whatever. And this guy turns up. And he must have been like 25, 26 years old. He pulls up in like a BMW on finance, Mercedes, something like that. I could see it from out the window. Maybe an Audi. And he just rolls in. And he's dressed really nice. He's sober. And he just walks over to her. She's excited to see him. He gives her a massive hug and a kiss. And he was just like, come on, let's go. She said bye to all her friends, ignored me and just left. And I was like, okay, there's levels to this game. I was like, we finished the whole young boy going out partying. You know, do you think I'm handsome shit? Like, oh, I've got quiffy hair. She must like me. I was like, that shit's gone. I was like, this older, bigger, stacked guy with assets has just rolled in, taken the woman I've been working on for like 6 weeks and just left. And I was like, I want to go home. I was like, I want to go home. I want to change my life. I don't want to do this anymore. And literally a few months later, I found my first ever girlfriend. And she was unbelievable. She was gorgeous, you know, just everything that I could ever imagine. And I started staying in. And I started to see results from like not having the bad habits. I wasn't particularly doing anything great. I was consistent with the gym. I started going 5, 6 days a week and putting a little bit of muscle on and stuff like that. I was boxing like twice a week and whatever, but I wasn't going out getting drunk. What we were doing, we were ordering a pizza and stuff like that. We were staying in on Saturday night, but not having those late nights and just staying in with her, it was wildly beneficial. And, you know, regular sex, no stress, stuff like that. I had financial stress, but it was like the first time where I was calm. It was the first time where I wasn't going out looking for it. It wasn't like shoving alcohol down my throat every night of the week. And it was nice. It put me in a real settled routine, and I could see like skin cleared up, everything looked better, and your life starts to come together. And you're like, that's the best I've ever looked. You start to see results, and then you start to learn, okay, this is beneficial to me. I remember we broke up, and I was going through a lot of stress at the time. I was, financially and stuff like that. Things weren't great, and we went through a breakup, and I was fine at the start, and then I asked for her back, and she said no, which I didn't think was going to happen. I thought she was going to do what she always does and go, yeah, I miss you so much. Like, you get rid of her, I don't want you, and then like a few weeks later, you're like, actually, come round, I miss you. And it's like the last straw. She was like, no, I'm good. I'm gonna move on. And I went through so much stress that I got telogen effluvium, and I had a hole in my hair here. So I had a full head of hair, and I had a hole from there to there, and it just started falling out. And every strand that came out had a white bulb on it, and it was about that big. It was massive, and it's telogen effluvium. It's like a stress disease, and then it turned into chronic telogen effluvium, and it never came back. It never came back. It just got thinner and thinner over the years. So I was now in a situation which turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me, but at the time it felt like the worst. And they dropped my phone. It turned out like it felt like the worst at the time, and I was like, I looked old. Do you know what I mean? Like you're 21 years old, it's coming up 22. I was coming up 22. It was like June. I remember there was some football on. It was like the Euros or something, or the World Cup. I think it was the Euros. And I remember sitting there and thinking, fuck, like I'm coming up 22 and I'm already going bold. It's like my life's over. What am I gonna do? I was like, I just lost the best woman of my life. I feel like shit. I didn't want to focus on anything, and I felt depressed and stuff like that. And I was like, what do I do now? I was like, I'm kind of unemployed. I'm trying to start my business. I was trying to start a personal training business, which I had like 10 clients, but each client was paying me like £20, and then the gym wanted 10 of that. And I just didn't really know what to do. Do you know what I mean? I was making something. I was living at home with parents and whatever, and it was going somewhere. So then I was just like, mate, if you're going to be older, if you're going to look old, you need to start working on yourself. You need to start dressing like a bit better. You need to start searching like how to become a real man, how to become an alpha male. So I started searching all of these things. This was the start of my self-improvement journey. This is the start of basically this channel and everything that began from there, like all of my knowledge, that's where it came from. And I found Sean Russell from Men Improvement, started studying his like blog and whatnot, cold showers, no fap, and no fap changed my life. It changed my mindset. I just wasn't the same guy. It like really cleared up my skin. The hair loss actually slowed down, but by that point it was too late. And I was just obsessed with like improving. I actually got a little bit weird, but I was just obsessed with improving and trying to just focus on how to become a better man. And I started buying things like ashwagandha. I started like putting on face masks and whatever. Like I really just started discovering all of this stuff. And then I would wear like waistcoats and go to like bars instead of clubs and stuff like that. I was like, let's just raise myself. Like I always tell you guys, take yourself at 20, place yourself at 40, and just be like, I'm going to start living like this now early. I'm going to start doing it. And I bumped into my mentor. So I was 22 years old, and I bumped into my mentor with a few of my friends, and I don't like new people. So I was like, he seems okay, but I'm going home. I went home at 12. I wasn't drinking, and I would drive home. I was in that pattern then. I didn't see the benefit of drinking, so I drove home. My friend said to me, we went out for a few drinks with this guy. He's super fucking cool. He's got like 1.8 million Twitter followers. He really wants to meet you and stuff like that. Like he thinks you're a cool guy. He knows he's got a business and whatever. And he's still 22-year-old guy in a waistcoat. That's cool as shit. So we went to his house the next day. We all met up, and he said to me and my friends, like we just started all hanging out. He was like, "I want to help you with your businesses. I want to work on it with you," and really helped me with that and stuff. And then he just said to us, "Do you want to go to Paris?" And then next thing you know, he's like, "Do you want to go to Toronto?" And around about the same time, I did an article with this guy called Sam Asghari. And Sam Asghari was just in the best shape I'd ever seen, and all these girls were talking about him and stuff. And I was just like, this guy's cool as shit. And I was like, that's the level I need to get to. It was like early Instagram, which people shit on Instagram now. I actually think it was a benefit back then because you thought you were the guy, the hometown hero. Like, oh, I'm I'm a handsome in shape guy in your area of 20,000 people. But then Instagram exposed it to the world and you went, oh, there's levels above this. I can travel around the world. And I remember at the time, my hometown had a tiny population, but it was busy. There was shit going on. There was a lot of young people. We'd have great like parties and stuff. As soon as Instagram hit, everyone was like, I can live anywhere I want in the world. I remember people started moving to Dubai. It was like the early stages of Dubai. And I was like, what the hell is this? People are going out to the desert to do like real estate and shit. Like, what the hell? People just saw what was going on in the world. And I moved to Toronto, saw Sam Asghari, and I was asking him all these tips and stuff. And I remember just thinking to myself, I want to be like him. I want to get in shape. So I really started hitting the gym properly and really dedicating to like lifting heavy weights and just copying his routine. And you're buying protein shakes and you're eating protein bars. You don't really know what you're doing, but you're going for it. And I remember it was probably the first time that I built up a decent amount of like base muscle. I still looked like a little boy. I still had like that whole like tech neck thing going on, but I was like I was just working towards something. I was like, okay, I've got some momentum there. Sorry, it's flies. I'm not just waving at the world. Yeah, I was like, I got some momentum. And then I remember we were going out and drinking a lot in our first year in Toronto, and by year two, I was like, I saw a picture of myself side on. I had this like big blubbery neck, so I had muscle, but I had this big blubbery neck. And I was like, there must be a way to get rid of it. I was like, I'm a self-improvement guy, like I can figure this out. So I went online. I was just searching how to like get a jawline, basically, like how to improve your jawline. And I went through about 50 videos of people talking shit, subliminal. If you believe you're gonna have a good jawline, you will have a good jawline. Like listen to this video on repeat about like you will have a good jawline, and in the morning you'll have a good like. It was all this kind of crap, and people saying like, all I do every day is I just go and I walk around like this, and eventually it'll straight. And I was just like, this can't be real. I was like, nobody knows what they're doing. Until I found this one video at 22 years old, 23 years old, by a guy called Dr. Mike Mew. And in the picture, he was side on, he had a solid jawline, and he was talking, it was like a presentation. And he was talking about, you know, actual science behind it, why certain things work, and oral positioning. And I was like, I was sat on my own. My friends had gone out, and I sat on my own in the dark in Toronto in this apartment, like high-rise apartment. And I was like, this checks out. I was like, this is it. I was like, I found something really fucking cool here. I was like, this has to work. I was like, it makes so much sense. I was like, this is what I'm doing and whatnot. So I started doing it wrong, where I was like keeping my teeth on top of each other rather than like those teeth and whatnot. I didn't know what I was doing, but I started doing orthotropics. And I remember when I came back to the UK, my business had been wiped out, it had been deleted. In hindsight, I don't really care, but like I think it was by my mentor or something like that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happened to this day. I don't know. But all the password had been changed, all the content had been deleted. Maybe I got hacked and it was just bad timing. But me and him had fallen out, and maybe it's just bad timing in hindsight. I don't want the negative karma. My life's great now, and I remember just saying to myself, right, this orthotropic shit is real. I'm going to seriously go for it. I'm going to really dedicate to it. But also, I'm going to hit the gym like a lunatic because I'm angry. I was like, I'm angry at the world. And I fell into this massive depression, obviously, where like my business has been wiped out and I had to start again. But I was like, let's go for this. Let's train like an absolute lunatic. And I started lifting really heavy and eating whatever I wanted. And it was my first ever bulk, and I got huge. I probably got up to like 95, 96 kilograms at 6'2", which, doesn't sound huge, but at the time as a guy who was always around 80, like I got really fucking big, and I actually got fat. I got a little bit fat, but I got huge. Like I was adding so much muscle on. I was taking pride in that whilst doing the orthotropics. I was super dedicated to orthotropics. I bought all the gum. I was chewing non-stop. But here's what it created, this like big blubbery face. I just had a big head. I had a big blubbery face. I just looked like a stacked guy. That was like phase one, and I realized I was building towards something. Then I landed a job in London. I was like, I need to get out of this area for health purposes, really, like mental health. So I landed a sales job in London, had to pay off some debt, some loans that I had taken before the business got wiped out. And I was like, right, I'm going over to London. I'm just going to continue lifting heavy and whatnot. But obviously when you're living on your own, you're not eating as much. So like I dropped a little bit, started to look okay and whatever, started dating girls for the first time, like at a high level. Should I say a decent level. And I was probably about 24. Yeah, I was 24 moving into 25. Yeah, 24 at the time. And I had this finance job, and I remember they would say to me, they call me Lump because I was big, and I would eat anything in the office. And then it was the first time where like I used a proper gym for years. So I was like for those years where I went through that bulk in that last year, I was like training from my house and stuff like that. I really dedicated from the home. I had like home weights and whatever. And obviously I was broke, so I didn't want a gym membership. But I was like, right, I'm gonna do this. And I didn't want to go outside. I was super depressed. I'm just gonna stay in. I'm just gonna rebuild and work on something. And it was the first time I had a gym like next to the office, and I'd just wake up every morning, go down 5, 6 a.m. I would lift as heavy as possible. I got really strong. It's the first time I went over 100 kg bench press. It was the first time I did a 200 kg deadlift. I started squatting. When I first started squatting, I could barely do 50. By the end of that year, I remember I was doing, I think I went up to 140, 150, and I was like, right, okay, I'm becoming strong here. Like 50 kg dumbbells in each hand, flat bench, just pushing them up for fun. And I got up to 100 kilograms, 102 kilograms. It was around that mark based on what I'd eaten. And I remember I went home one Christmas and my dad was like, fuck me, you're huge. He's like, he's massive. But I had like, I still had like a full head of hair, but I had like a blubbery face, big beard that I'd grown. And I was just one of those big fucking juicy guys. And I wasn't on anything. I was just taking mass gainer. I had mass gainer, I had creatine. And I would just eat whatever I wanted, really. I would go out on weekends with my girlfriend. I would take 2 days off the gym and I would eat whatever I wanted and refeed from Monday to Friday. And I would just train like a lunatic and I would just lift as heavy as possible. And I got absolutely huge. That was 25. And then I thought to myself, do you know what? I'm huge. Now it's time to cut. I was like, I've done it. Now it's time to cut. I had zero knowledge of cutting. I had no idea what I was doing. And I remember my girlfriend at the time was like, you should start focusing on fashion. You should start wearing some nice stuff. So she bought me these like cheap £20 t-shirts from ASOS, but they were muscle fit and they would just make me look huge. And I was like, I'm becoming who I want to be. This is great. And I started cutting and they were only a medium. And I started cutting and these tops like just didn't fit anymore. They just started becoming baggy and my arms were shrinking and I didn't really know what I was doing. I just figured you built the muscle. All you do now is you just run on the treadmill and you just do like body weight exercises and then you'll just get really lean. Like you don't eat as much and you just become lean, but you're big and lean. And I didn't really know what I was doing. And I fucked up everything. I fucked up all of my gains. So I ended up becoming skinny again. I just like lost all my muscle and I just became skinny. And then I was going through a bit of financial stress trying to figure it all out. And I was like, what do I do from here? And then I got a new job, got into that, whatever. I got consistent in the gym again, lifting heavier. I figured out what I needed to do. And after about 3 months, COVID hit. And I was like, shit, like, what do I do now? All the gyms are closed. I'm the skinniest I've ever been. And I was just doing like press ups. As you guys know, we were all in the same boat. I was just doing press ups and pull ups and I was getting those elastic bands and doing some curls and whatnot, but I mean, I was just eating like shit food all day with the missus. We're stuck in the house. We'd order Uber Eats, we'd Deliveroo, we'd get some donuts, and like, fucking hell, what a hard week. We haven't been outside. COVID's shocking. Like, let's do something to cheer ourselves up. You're not walking as much. You're not going outside. You're not hitting the gym. And I'll bring up the picture on screen now for you guys. Like, you'll see it's the worst I ever looked. Like, I went completely bald at that point, just before I shaved it off. And I was like some bold, old, skinny guy. And it was just the worst I'd ever looked in my life. And I must have been about 26 years old, maybe COVID lasted a while. So I was probably 27 years old at the time. And it was the worst I'd ever looked. I just looked absolutely terrible. And the only saving grace is that maybe I found skincare. Like she taught me about skincare and exfoliating and stuff like that. That might have been the only benefit that came from that other than, a great relationship. And it just got to the point at the end of COVID where I was like, I'm not making great money. I don't enjoy the job that I'm in. I want to do what I always wanted to do originally when I was in Toronto with my business. I was like, I'm skinny. I'm this bold guy. And I was like, I'm going to just turn all this around. I'm going to go for it. So I got the razor blade out, just shaved the whole lot off, just went, but that way actually, I shaved it that way. Now I shave it that way for the SMP, but I shaved it that way, shaved the whole thing off, went completely bald. Looked at her, walked out, went, what do you think? And she went, yeah, I like it. I think you look great. Like, you should have done that years ago. And it just gave me the confidence to keep going. So I thank that woman to this day. But I remember saying to her one day, my dad was really ill. My dad had stage 4 cancer and sadly died years later, or about a year later from when I came home. And I was like, it's COVID, we can't go anywhere. I was like, I was like, I want to break up. I was like, I want to break up. I was like, here's why. Because I was like, you're young and beautiful and I'm just wasting your time. I was like, I'm broke. I've got nothing going on. I'm not making good money. I was like, I'm not doing what I want to do with my life. I was like, I've got, all my debts are about to be paid off. We're in COVID. We're stuck in 4 walls. I was like, if I go back to my hometown, I was like, I can just rebuild. I can rebuild. I had a space, which was the garage, which you guys will remember, where I realized that I could build a gym in there. I could go for walks every day. There weren't any police officers. Like in London, you go for a walk and police officers are like, you've been outside for 20 minutes, time to go home. And I was just like, I could lock myself in there for like a year. COVID's going to go on for like another year. I was like, I'll just lock myself in there. I can work. I've got enough money to get me through it. I can just focus on creating content for this new business. I made some crypto investments because I got into crypto around about that time. And I was like, I could just dedicate. I can just do my orthotropics in silence and I can just dedicate. And I went for it. I just fucking went for it. And my dad was dying of cancer at the time, and I became his full-time carer, and they paid me to be his full-time carer in the government. So I was like, well, I'm quids in. I was like, I'm actually making more every month than what's going out. I've got no bills. I was like, I'm good. I was like, I could be here for like 3, 4, 5 years, worst case scenario. Let me just dedicate. So like driving back from London, I remember it sucked. I was just like, I'm leaving the place that I love. I'm leaving the woman that I love. I had a little dog with her. And it was just, but I was angry at the world. And I was just like, fuck it, watch this. And I've never trained like that in my life. Like that was 2 times a day, night and day. And guys, I absolutely went for it. But I was limited by my facilities. So like, I could only squat what I could overhead press. So I didn't have enough money to buy all the machinery. But I could only squat what I could overhead press. So like, my upper body got huge. I got back to like 105 kg, something like that. I got to like the biggest I've ever been. I'll bring up a picture on screen. And I think I went from like 82 kilograms to like 105. I just got fucking huge. I was having mass gain. I was having about 5,000 to 6,000 calories a day, and it's the first time I was like tracking calories. And I just got absolutely enormous. I got so fucking strong that friends of mine that were strong would come around and try and lift what I would lift, and they wouldn't be able to do it. I started deadlifting. I was doing leg workouts for the first proper time, even though I didn't have the facilities. There was a video I released on the channel years ago, and I started telling you guys to train like arse and stuff like that. So I was really like, for the first time ever, tracking calories, lifting properly. I had an exact routine. I would train like back, then like push, pull, legs, and then a rest day and whatever. I would actually like train properly. And as sadistic as this sounds, guys, like this does sound bad, but I'm going to tell you the truth. My dad was really ill, and it was a bad time in my life, but I enjoyed it. Like I enjoyed that time. I didn't enjoy my dad being ill, but I enjoyed the structure. And that's when I made the video for you guys, do the same 5 things on repeat for 5 years, because it clicked for me. I was just like, oh, you get great results when you just dedicate. And I remember just like every day I would wake up and I found a video by Jeff Logan, you know, that motivational video. I want to do one soon, like the transformation. I want to do one for myself. I'm just waiting to go and get like the supercar or something first so that the video can actually look right. And there's a place in London I want to rent. It'll all come together and we'll do the video, and it'll motivate millions of guys around the world. I can't wait to do it because Jeff helped me with that. So I want to do the same. But I found Jeff Logan, and this guy had like amazing fucking skin, amazing jawline. And I was like, well, I'm already doing orthotropics. I must be getting some results because I'm working on it. But I was like chewing and I was puffy. And he was saying like facial exercises. And I was like, well, that must help. And then I started like really looking into it and thinking of like what I can do. And I found submental exercises. You know, the NPC video where I was doing that shit. And as you can see, it's working under there. And I found all these exercises and I just started experimenting with movements. And, you know, I really took Mike Mew's advice on like the hollow cheeks. And instead of just chewing and getting this bubbly face, I was like, how do I hollow this out? And I really started to become dedicated to the whole process. And Jeff had this approach, and I've used this in my videos before, where he's got like the 5-finger approach where he said, instead of just fitness, you're doing fitness, skincare, you're drinking loads of water, maybe like you're doing your cardio, he said, and then you're doing like facial exercises as well on top of that, or something like that. Do you know what I mean? He was like, and when you put it all together, it creates a punch, you get a bigger impact. I was like, that makes so much sense to me. So this is why it's sadistic, because my dad was dying, and I hate the thought of actually looking back on that time and feeling like I actually enjoyed those months, because I would wake up in the morning, I would, eat my 2,000 calories, whatever it was. I would smash the gym, and I would do like my facial exercises under here. I would do all the orthotropics. I would chew and whatnot. I would then do like a skincare routine. I would drink like 2 liters of water or something. I would then do a little bit of cardio. I would drive up to see my dad. I'd look after him, make sure he was okay. Drive back, make some videos for the YouTube channel. I would research stuff like crypto and whatever. I would do some more facial exercises while I was sat there. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm growing. I was like, I like this environment. I've got no stress, no pressures. I'm making more money than what's going out. I was like, and I'm getting better. I was like, I can see improvements. Like, I'm working towards something. And this is the first time I came up with the concept for you guys of chunking. I would say to myself, right, self-improvement September. It hit September, and I was like, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. I was like, May 1st, it gets warm. I could look great by summer. I was like, right, self-improvement September, 8 months, and I made a video for you guys. I started thinking about things in chunks. I was like, if I do orthotropics now, plus skincare, plus I bulk, I stop my bulk in January, I start doing my cut. I was like, by May, I was like, I'm going to be a fucking weapon of a man. I was like, imagine where I'm going to be. Look at Jeff's jawline. Imagine if I can replicate that. And it did. Like, I started getting results. I remember for the first time ever in one of the winters, I was talking to this girl who was way out of my league, and she was probably like a 7.5, 8 out of 10, and she was beautiful. And she was just like calling me all the time, and she was just like, when can I see you and shit like that. And I was just like, this is crazy. Like, it actually gave me results for the first ever time. She lived like down in London. I found her on a dating app. I think it was Tinder back then. And I was just like, wow, like I'm actually getting results and stuff like that. Like, things are going really well, and I'm going to keep dedicating. I'm going to keep working. Now, this is when I first saw like serious changes. Okay. This is when I think my life, like, when people always ask me this question, when did you see like that changeover where it was probably that goal, but then it continued, like it got big at this stage here. So I was like, I think when I got home, I went from 27 to like 28. And that's when I like got back to my area, looked after my dad. I think I turned 28. It was like 27 to 28 within a week by the time I got home. 28 to 20, well, the whole of 28 until my birthday. My birthday was at the end of August, so it was like self-improvement September all the way round, and then I got round to like May. And I remember like one of my friends loved fitness, and we just said to each other, why don't we just train together? We're like, we should start training together. And I was cutting by that point, and I was eating a clean diet. People were calling me obsessed, which I enjoyed. And I was watching Rob Lipset and Mike Thurston's like Ibiza vlogs and the videos. This is why it's so cool to like do content with Rob today, because he like inspired me to go to the next level. And I was like, I want to be like these guys. I want to get in that level of shape. I was like, this is the year to get lean. Like, I was like, I need to look like Jeff Logan. I was like, I need to get to that point where I'm super lean. And yeah, I just started doing a little bit more cardio. I started cleaning up my diet. I would track my carbs every day. And that's when I found out with you guys, like, keep your carbs low, track your calories, be in a small deficit. I started doing all of that. And I was training with my friend every single day. And I went into maintenance, which was great. And then I went into like cut mode, and I got really fucking lean. But my face was still like kind of puffy. And you'll see from the pictures, like, it was the first time where I got lean. But I was getting stronger during the cut. Me and my friend were just pushing each other to like bench more and whatnot. And I just got, for the first time, I was like, shit, I actually look good. I was like, I'm actually looking at pictures and going, that's who I want to be. That's what I want to look like. It was like the first stages of that. And then this started to pay off, the orthotropics and this and whatnot. And I was like, oh, I can actually see some hollow shit. And there was one video I did before I went to get SMP, where I was filming in the gym for you guys. And it was like hollow here, this looked high, and people were like, shit, like, mate, you actually look pretty decent. And I made that transformation video, like 10-year transformation for my body. And I was really proud of what I did, like 86 kg, lean but big. And I was like, it's the first time I'm proud. And I was getting like attention off girls that were like, and I hate using the term, but it allowed you guys to understand the journey. 6s, 7s, stuff like that, real local girls and whatnot. And I was like, okay, there's something here. And I was always dating somebody. I always had somebody I was talking to, whether it worked out or not. It was just like, okay, something's happening here. Crypto exploded. So we got around to my birthday. I turned 29. Crypto, I think I was 29. Yeah, I must have been 29. Must just turned 29. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah, because I remember the video to like schedule whatever. My dad had died in March, and I just turned 29. I just got my money back because I paid for his funeral, so I got the money back. I'd released my supplements, so I'd gone from like basically broke, where I put the money into like to help my dad and whatnot, and put it into the supplements. Like 20 grand went out the door in like a week, and I was shitting myself. The supplements were finally ready, and they launched in September. And as you guys know, I made like £13,000 in a week, and I was like, wow, I'm on the board here. It's the first time I've ever made money. And crypto exploded. So I was in Solana and 3 gaming coins very early on. I got in like before it was about £8, £9. I got in really early on Solana. It exploded, gave me a chunk of cash, and I was like, wow. I was like, my life has just turned around. Like things have changed. This is it. I was like, I can actually do shit now. So I started to like exercise that. I was like, okay, I can actually go and buy some nice clothes. So I started buying nice clothes. I started buying, a few little things to wear and whatnot. And I went and got Range Rover. I went and got a penthouse, and I moved to Cheltenham, where you guys were my most recent location, where I was doing most of my videos for the last few years. And I moved there, and I started playing around with like furniture and interior design and like nice smelling candles and bringing a beautiful woman round and dating her and going to nice places and 5-star hotels and restaurants and whatever. And I just really started expanding. I spent like £200 on skincare and started testing out different formulas and what you can use. I did that fashion haul where I went and bought like £2,000, £3,000 worth of clothes. And I started to become who I actually wanted to become. And included in that, obviously, I got the SMP done in between. It was like at the end of that summer, it was like October. So it was like a 3-4 month run. Up, like within 3-4 months, I got all of that done. But I got the SMP done, and I got to actually shave it at the moment. It's a bit long on the sides. I've left it a few days, but I got all that done, and it just changed my life. Like I got really lean, and I was like, oh shit, like I saw my friends for the first time in years, and they were like, what's happened here? Like you look really lean, like you look really good. And it was the first time I got proper results. And when people ask me like, when's the first time you actually felt like you got to a decent level, that was probably it. So I was 29 years old, about 29 and a half. That's weird, but it makes sense, right? 29 and a half, and everything started to go well, but it wasn't like elite level. It wasn't, it's yeah, like some beautiful women and stuff like that. It was like the best women I've ever had in my life and whatever, and things were going well, and I was making good money, but I didn't really know what to do with it. I didn't really know, it was great. Like, don't get me wrong, it was great, but it wasn't until like when I turned 30 where I really cleaned all this shit up. Where I went, right, I know what works. Like I was testing fashion out, and this is the problem with fashion, is you have to spend a shit ton of money. You have to spend a shit ton of money to figure out what actually works. So I started going like heavy into fashion and started to wear like really high quality items, like coats that cost like 400, 500, £600, like shoes that were like £400. And I really started taking it seriously and delving into that world. At the same time, like I was still doing all the tropics, I was still doing all the other stuff, like this was just improving step by step. Then I started to go to a barber. I was like, I haven't done it at the moment, but I was like, I'd rather have a barber do it so it looks better than what I was doing myself. So I just started adding all these things in, and then I'd hire a boxing coach, I hired a leg coach, and I was just like, the money's allowing me to facilitate more. Like I'm able to do more. I'm able to work on myself a lot more. I went and bought Creed Viking, which was like a £400 cologne and whatnot. And I was just stepping it up. I was just living that life. I just wanted to become that guy, and things started to come together. And I think that was the start of like, I think a much higher level where I was like, okay, this is fun now. Everywhere I go, there's attention. I'm not getting no's anymore. I'm starting to feel good about myself. People give you compliments. They thought you were jacked and stuff like that. And I think I said to myself, I'm going to do one final bulk. So I did one final bulk, and I really went for it. And I think you guys remember, I'll bring the picture up on screen. This is probably like the most familiar first man years when people remembered it most. And it was in my apartment, and I just did 2 years nonstop. I was just like heavy lifting. I was bulking. I took massive pride in being like 95 kg, like a jacked gorilla. I always said that to you guys, with a big beard. And I knew I had the results underneath because I'd seen them. And this is what threw a lot of people off, is I was saying stuff like hollow cheeks and getting to this level and stuff like that. And a lot of people are like, you don't really have it and stuff like that. Like they were making comments and whatever. But I was like, it's there. I'm just doing one final bulk. And then people were making jokes about Chris is always bulking, Chris is never ending bulk. And I was like, but I know I need one last one to just put muscle on in areas that I didn't have it before. So I just did this one last bulk, like I said, 95 kg. And then I did an actual proper cut for the first time ever where like I knew what I was doing. I had experience of a previous cut. I knew what I was doing and it was easy. And I was big and lean. It was the first time ever I was big and lean. All the cuts before that, I got small. All the bulks before that, I looked puffy. This is the first time ever where I was like, okay, you're big and lean together. Like you're athletic, you're big, you're lean. It's all come together. Perfect. And then I just built off the back of that. I just built off the back of that. And I ended up being like, I think I was like 90 kg, just big, lean, six pack and everything. And I was like really focused on like testosterone at the time and dialed in on everything and just had amazing results, an amazing life. I would have like meals out with women, I'd have pizzas and whatnot. And guys, life was good. I'd wake up every morning, £2,000 would come in, another £1,000 throughout the day. And I was just enjoying life. I was just having the time of my life. I was dating girls, I was driving around in my car. I was like, I've made it. I'm the man. I'm living in this penthouse. I would watch movies at night. I would, go down the shop and go and grab like a cheesecake, a tiramisu. I'll work it off in the morning. I got lazy. I'll be honest with you. I got lazy. I was still doing all the correct habits. I was still like chewing and stuff like that. I adopted neck training around that time as well. I was really dedicated to neck training. You guys remember? I was still doing submentals, and it was a bad time in my life because it was a great time. So it was like, what's good to you isn't good for you. And my life was incredible. I already had momentum. I was really working on myself, but whilst enjoying myself. And it was a healthy balance. I really enjoyed it, and I would never go back and change that because I enjoyed what I did. But I was spending like £1,000 a week just enjoying myself. I think that's probably not correct. I was probably spending like £500 a week on like enjoyment, maybe even 1,000 because of clothes and shit like that and other bills. But I was just enjoying life, and I was almost like yo-yoing. I was like, right, today I've woken up, I look a little bit puffy. I've gone to the gym, I look great, and I was in this middle zone where it was just like bouncing between the two. And sometimes I looked good, sometimes I didn't, but I'd always dress it up well. I'd always put on some nice clothes and smell good, and I was dating often. I had like beautiful women in my life that. They were basically like my long, like, like they were my girlfriend for like 3 to 6 months. I was dating them. I was dedicated to them. We were enjoying ourselves and whatnot. And then just something just happened in my life where I was like, I need to push myself. I need to do more. I was like, I need something to kick me up the arse. And I said to my boxing coach, I was like, I really need you. I was like, what can I do? Because I was like, I've accomplished everything I ever wanted to accomplish in my life is great. Like, what can kick me up the arse and take me to the next level? I was like, I'm struggling to get out of bed in the mornings. And he was like, have a fight. He was like, we'll train for a fight. And I dedicated because I was scared. I dedicated like nothing I'd ever seen. I was like, if I lose, like that would be my ego crushed. So I just dedicated like you've never seen. And I got down to 83 kilograms. And I was fucking lean, but it was the first time where I went, oh wow, shit, like this has happened. Like that's the face that you wanted. There it is. Like it was hidden underneath like that poor lifestyle. And I just cleaned it up and just went for it. And I think that was the first trigger for me where I was like, it sounds horrible to say, and I hate doing this, but it was like the first trigger where I went, I'm that guy. Like I'm that guy that dresses well, he's big, he's lean, he's got like I ticked every box, and I was like, right, I've gone to another level here. Like it just felt really good. And I remember I went over to Marbella to film some content with Rob Lipset, and when I came back, I'd done a lot of walking and I cleaned up my diet. I wasn't really eating. And when I saw my boxing coach, he was like, you look good. Like you look lean, like your face looks good, you look tanned and stuff like that. And I realized I was being sloppy. I was sitting there just eating like a tiramisu, cheesecake, dark chocolate. Yeah, I'd go to the gym, I'd stay on top of it, but I'd have a glass of red wine, watch a movie. But like Rob Litzat said to me, get up early, go for a walk 3 times a day. And I just really dedicated to this lifestyle. I was like, I'm going to start doing cardio again. We had a charity match with my dad, a charity football match. And I tried to go running and I was like, my legs don't work. My Achilles were on fire. I was like, my legs don't work anymore. You're getting old. I was like, you need to start stretching. You need to start like having 4 liters of water per day. You can't just keep drinking coffees and teas all day, like matchas and whatever, as you guys know. I was like, stop the like sugary matchas from Starbucks. Start making your own if you like them that much. I was like, stop going out and just like having food and actually cook at home. dedicate to this boxing fight. I was like, really go for it. And I, like I said, 83 kg, and everything came together, and I looked good at the end of it all. And then afterwards, I was just demotivated. I remember being really demotivated and just being like, what's next? What's now? I was like, I just don't really feel the push. Like I'd reinvested heavily in the business and got dedicated to that again. And I was like, I want to push the business to the next level. I want to go for it. I want more from life. And I was struggling to find the motivation for the gym. I was just working on business. I was dedicated to the business and whatnot. And I was skipping gym sessions. And then something just hit me where I was like, if you don't do it now, you're 31 years old. I think I turned 31. I was like, if you don't do it now, you're never gonna do it. I was like, time's gonna tick by and you're never gonna have everything that you ever wanted to have. And this is my biggest secret in recent years, guys, is I just dialed in. I just dialed in everything to a 10. I've never been that dedicated on everything in my life. And it's the hardest I've ever trained. I was filling in the gaps. I started training biceps, traps, everything like that. And it was the first time I actually really went for it. And I like got rid of old habits. I was training calves properly. I hired a leg coach and I just like dedicated to that. Um, I started doing sprints again, which I didn't do before. So I started doing hill sprints and dropping like excess body fat and really cleaning up who I was. I was going and having saunas. I was having 4 liters of water per day. I was like lowering sugar intake and stuff like that. And I was cooking all my own meals. I wasn't eating out as much. And I just went, this is it. Like, this is the time where you dedicate. Like, skincare, I dialed it in. It was at a good point. Orthotropics had paid off and I'd got lazy with it. And I was like, right, pick it back up. Now that you're lean, you're going to get the best results of your life. Like, really go for it. You know, like, I'd know to take a smaller bite of some food so that these wouldn't grow and whatever. So the food wouldn't, like, these muscles here, the buccinators wouldn't be used. But I'd get greedy. I'd get hungry. I'd get greedy. And I'd just be like, ah, fuck it, I'm hungry. Who cares? I'd stuff it in the mouth. And I could see it was like having negative results. So I was like, just dial everything into a 10. You're the self-improvement guy. Like, prove it. Just absolutely go for it. And then the final thing happened. I came here, Granada, 3 months, construction. And I was looking massive. I was looking massive. And I was getting the best results of my life. I felt fucking invincible. I had famous women that were messaging me and stuff, and I was going on dates with, and I was like, this is incredible. Like, I've reached a level in my life now where I feel like a fucking celebrity. But I would see in photos that I was just like a little bit, I still had a little bit of like a puffy face or something like that. And I was just like, you could work on it. If you dropped a little bit of fat, it'd be great. Granada, working on this house for 3 months, I dropped 10 kilograms, and I swear to God, I kept all the muscle and I kept all the strength, but just this fat just disappeared. And my whole body just leaned down. And I went from wearing extra large to wearing medium. But I was just as, I looked just as big and I was just as strong. I was just super lean. Like I had all the same muscle and I could lift the same amount. I was just super lean. And I was like, I must have lost so much excess crap that I put on over the years. And something as extreme as this has just pushed me over the edge. And I just felt like I had optimal testosterone levels. I just felt as though I was just like, yeah, I was like almost just starving myself. And it took this like extreme event where I didn't have the comfort. Like I thought I was dedicated to the highest level, but it took this extreme event where I wasn't like, oh, I'll just eat a bit of that. Oh, I'll eat a bit of that. I'll have a bit more of that. Or I just sit down and have like a coffee and chill. And I was like, I'm moving all day. And it just did something to my body. And I remember at that moment thinking to myself, and it was the first day I got to Granada, I was like, I want it. I was like, I want it this year. And I remember I got this picture of this like beautiful woman in a tight red dress, like this supermodel up on my phone every morning. And I would go and do hill sprints at like 6 a.m. And I kept saying into my head as I was running up the hills, I was like, I want it this year. I want it. I want to get to that elite level. I want everything that I'd ever wanted in my life. I want to make it to that elite level. I was like, I want to become that guy. I remember thinking, this is it now. Like, and I made that video for you guys at the start of being in Granada where I said, everything gets more serious when you're in your 30s. Like you get more serious. You can go back a few months and find it, but I was talking about being more serious. That was my mindset switch. That was when I was like, right, do everything. And I became religious with orthotropics. I would chew that thing every single day. I became smarter with orthotropics. I was like, how do I chew whilst hollowing this out? Oh, I can hold it in the middle. I can chew from here. Instead of using the gum, and everything will hollow out, whilst this will get bigger, this will get stronger around here. And I was just like strategizing specifics. Like I'd look at my face in the mirror and be like, what do I need to do? I was trying to go to bed early. I was trying to get 8 hours per night. I was trying to make sure, I was focusing on things like sleep and stuff like that. I was like really trying to dial it in. I've never lived as perfect as that in my life. My diet was immaculate. We were moving all day. I was shredding fat. The puffiness went. The water dropped out of me, and I was like, there's a few pictures taken and stuff like that, and I was like, that's it. I was like, I've hit that limit. That's who I want to be. Now, towards the end of that, I was drained. I remember becoming absolutely drained in the last month, and I started to go the other way a little bit, where I was looking tired, and obviously relaxed after Granada was done. I got back to the UK, and I just really just like de-stressed, slept well, dedicated to what I wanted to do. I had a routine where I was walking twice a day, um, nailed my skincare and stuff like that, nailed all the tropics, just everything was just perfectly consistent as it was in Granada, but I wasn't doing like 18 hours of construction per day. So I was looking well rested. Plus that, it was almost like moving into the maintenance phase and having everything that you wanted. Um, no alcohol, no stress, just the pure consistency. And, you know, probably 2 days ago, 3 days ago, what day is it today? Monday. So 2 days ago, we were in Granada as a group that, me and two of the lads from 1M House. And I just felt like I'd almost peaked. I just felt as though everything I ever wanted is here. I woke up in the morning, I like shaved my neck, shaved my head, shaped all this up, shaved this, put a line in there, like did everything that I wanted to do, like cleaned up my beard for the week. We're going out on a Saturday. I was well slept, dressed really nice, did my morning skincare, put on like some hydrating cream. I'd had a sauna, like 3 saunas that week and stuff. I'd done my hill sprints. I'd been hitting weights all week. And I went out on Saturday, and there's a picture which I'll show you guys now of me that's on screen. And obviously, I didn't know it was being taken. Obviously, the fitness picture that I took was on that morning and stuff. And it's from a video. It's not even a picture. I've just moved in front of the camera and tensed and whatnot. And I look at those pictures today, and I look at it and I think like, as arrogant as it sounds, but it has to be for like the sake of this video because of the journey. I look at those pictures and I'm like, you've become that guy. And you can tell from obviously, attention that you get and smiles and stuff like that, and like people, like girls writing down numbers and leaving them for you. Like you can tell, okay, I've got to a certain level. I don't like talking about that stuff too much because it just makes you sound like a dick. But just for the sake of educational purposes, that's what has happened. And then you realize you're probably the best dressed guy in like most places you go, and you have a structure and a body that nobody else has and stuff like that, and you're like, I've made it. Like I've made it to where I wanted to get. I've ticked all those boxes, and I've got plans now to move into a ridiculous place in London. I've got plans to get either like a 110 Defender or a McLaren or something like that. And I'm probably, what's it now? November, December, January. I'm probably like 3 months away, and obviously business has gone great. It's put it all in place. I'm releasing a fashion line very soon. These are like big business things, and I'm currently in that process, but I'm probably like 3 months away from just making a few purchases, putting a few things in play, of being like that guy that I always wanted to become. And that's what motivated me on this journey. I always wanted to be like the perfect man, like in shape, you look good, your skin's clean, you're making good money, you got good assets, you're well educated, like, and I feel as though it's now there. And I don't feel bad saying that, because I'm like, I've worked towards that. It took my whole life to work towards that. I'm 32 today. And I only turned 32 in August, for context. And I really started this self-improvement journey and doing what I'm doing now, like working towards it and trying to figure it all out. I probably started it at like 21, properly, like 20, yeah, probably like 21 into 22. So when you look at that, it's like a 10, 11-year journey to become that guy that everyone talks about. And like, can you be that guy? Can you be that top 1% guy? I feel as though I've done it now. It took like 10, 11 years. Everything I ever wanted is here. Everything that I want seems achievable. Any one that you want seems like an option, under good circumstances, whether like they're not married or something like that, it seems like an option. And I hope that gives you guys hope. And throughout this, I'll have to edit this. I'll have to go through and go and find all the, the step-by-step pictures and whatnot. But you guys will be able to see the like slow progress and how many years it takes. And this is why I always talk about the male advantage. This is why I always talk about that journey that you guys have to go on. And how it's trial and error, how you try one or two things and it didn't quite work, and then you did it for 2 years and then you slipped off, like neck training. You're like, fuck, I'm not doing it anymore. Whereas the picture the other day of me, that the one that's most recent from 2 days ago, you can see my neck is just thick and solid but lean. It's just like a thing that people didn't really think about, but it puts you up a few levels. It makes you feel good. It's like dressing in a certain way, a certain cloth material or whatever, like that is just high quality. I mean, this isn't. This is a. It is actually. It's from Sandro Paris, but I've had it so long, it's become a little bit loose. But it is a great quality. But just being able to put all those ducks in order, and then, I'm probably 3 months away from doing that Jeff Logan transformation where, at the start of the video, it'll be puffy 27-year-old me sat there going, I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to get to that level. And then the next clip is you looking like that, dressed like that, getting out of a McLaren in London with a big, beautiful house, beautiful woman on your arm. You're just like traveling the world. You're doing cool shit. You're doing speeches. And people are like, whoa, like, look what this guy, that's what Jeff Logan did for me. And I'm like 3 months away from being able to make that video. That would be like an 11-year journey from start to finish. It's crazy, guys. Like when I look back and I think of all the trial and error and all the things I had to work on and all the things I had to do, and then look, I feel like I've got so much more that I can do. Like there's so much more you can do from that point onwards. And people always say, oh, you like once you get to a certain point, you fall off the radar, you won't look good anymore. Well, if I'm getting better every single year, and I'm now 32, and it's going up at an alarming rate, I don't see when it does that drastically. It's either going to level out and stay, or it's just going to keep going up. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, there's so many more things I can add in. There's so many more things I can do. And it should just give you guys hope, because it doesn't. The only thing I've got a few little like gray hairs, and I just like have to dye it once a month. But that's like from business stress more than anything. So it probably won't happen to you guys. But even they look pretty cool. Do you know what I mean? Like nobody notices, nobody cares and whatnot. But that's like the first sign of aging. I haven't done TRT. I mean, I could get my fucking teeth done, something like that. You could get a hair transplant. There's so much you can do. I'm not really into all that because I like to improve. I like to just work on myself and improve and feel good. But you've got all that on the table too. You've got stem cells and whatnot. Like there's so much that you can do moving forward. Like I now take Saturdays off. It's like the second week in a row where I've taken Saturdays off. I've rested, I've slept, I come back Monday morning, I've got way more energy, I feel good, I feel like my face looks brighter and stuff like that. Like you can adapt this, and this is why the male advantage is so powerful, because it's like 11 years of working towards something. It's getting better along the way, but then when you do get to that phase, you can correct stuff, you can put stuff in place. You've got the money then to like put things right, take a day off, sleep an extra hour a night, and then you start reversing those signs. But I mean, many guys say to me when I first started watching your videos, I thought you were in your 40s or like late 30s, and they're like, today you look like you're 28 years old. And that's what you can do. That's what you can do. And I think I'm like 12% body fat right now. Like I can still lose like another 2% body fat. I'm not at like my ultimate peak strength again, which I think will just come back now that I'm training consistently. I'm probably 5 kg away from my peak strength. That's going to make you look a little bit bigger and whatnot. And I haven't actually done any clothes shopping in like 6 months to a year. Like all the clothes that I bought were such high quality. They've lasted me a year. They've lasted me 2 winters. So, you just like, I can go up again. And I remember Tristan Tate made a video where they asked him in a podcast, like, do you think this is peak Tristan? He was like, it might be peak now at like 36 years old or something like that. But he said before that, he was like, I'm getting better every year. Like I'm improving. He said, like aesthetically, 36 years old, 37 years old might be like peak Tristan, which I think is when men peak, like 37. I think that's the ultimate peak for men. But he said, like, every year I'm getting better as a man. I'm improving. And if you can maintain, like, you get up to 37 and you maintain, like, that high level, but you get richer, you get more assets, you become a better individual mentally, that, you're only getting better and better every single year. And this should give so many young guys encouragement, like my journey, all these other guys' journeys, the male advantage journey, everything that you can do to just improve, all these little things that you can keep changing and whatnot. Like, instead of sitting and looking down at your computer, just put your computer up, and then like over 2-3 years, your jawline just gets a little bit better. You start chewing that, for like an hour a day, or you start like just something. Do you know what I mean? Like every day you just chip away at it, and before you know where you are, it takes like one big cut, and you go, whoa, like this is hollow. This is hollow. I can see a line. Where does that line come from? Like you guys can literally see a line here. That's from chewing for years. Like that makes your face just solid. Like under good lighting, it's like one there, one there. That makes your face square. This makes your face square. This comes down. And it takes time. It just takes time, just chipping away at it day after day. And it's confusing. Like men's fashion, what the fuck do I wear? What suits me? I'm gonna have to go and spend 2-3 grand to find that out. Give yourself like a 10-year journey. Just dedicate to something and just see where you end up. And then, like I said, 11 years has been my journey, but probably more than that with all the stuff I was doing when I was younger, but where I was fully focused on it, maybe 11 years. And I can't wait to see what you guys do, and just give yourself a long-term plan. Many think in decades are dangerous. Your life doesn't really start as a man until you're like 28, 29, 30. Just dedicate to something and just watch. If you're the only guy, as you go through the great male filter years, if you're the only guy staying in on a Saturday, you're getting up and going to the gym at 5 a.m. You're dedicating. You're going on runs. You're doing sprint training. You're doing a skincare routine. You're doing orthotropics. You're cleaning your diet up while everyone else is eating shit. It's no wonder that you're going to come out on top. And it's the best thing ever, because most guys who are lean and handsome and stuff like that are like 21 or under. Most guys who have got money, muscle, assets, they dress well, they're 30 and over, but most guys 30 and over are fat. Most guys 30 and over have just given up on life. They don't look good. So if you're the only guy who's over 30, who dresses well, who's got more money, who's got good assets, who's got his life sorted, but he also looks good, he's in shape, he's low body fat, he's dedicating himself to the gym, you're like one of one. It just doesn't exist. You're such a rarity that you are in like the top 0.01%, and it doesn't exist. That future is there for every single one of you guys. And it just comes from dedicating, learning, and just throwing yourself into the game and being like, I'm going to figure out everything, and I'm going to tweak this. I'm going to get rid of that bad habit, but I'm going to add in that good habit. Look at me today. I'm sat in Granada in a massive house, like a 6-bedroom house. This is just the garage, workstation area. There's a sauna over there. There's a podcast table over there with a TV, workstation, sofa, coffee area over here. This is like a central seating area where everyone can have meetings. It's ridiculous. And out there, there's like barbecue, massive like olive tree seating areas, a pool over there, a gym behind me out there. Like, I own this. It takes time. It takes time. You just got to keep chipping away and just believe in the process, guys. And that is my journey on how to become that guy. And that is my step-by-step system on how you guys can become that guy. Hope you enjoyed it, boys. Tonight on School Community, I think I'm going to do a full breakdown of my diet and my training plan, and like maybe I'll even do my skincare routine maybe on camera for you guys and show you what I actually do. I think that'd be pretty cool. So if you're interested, then I'll see you there. The link is below. Catch you later, guys. Have a good one.